In Ukraine, a civil war could break out after a ceasefire. After the likely end of the Russian-Ukrainian war, about 1 million of our defenders will return home and become veterans. This statement was made by former Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Valerii Zaluzhnyi, and you can find more information in our report. My name's Yevhen Sirov, and this is the Glavred channel. Subscribe and give us a like. Let's get started. The former Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and now Ukraine's ambassador to the United Kingdom, Valerii Zaluzhnyi, has warned that the return of Ukrainian defenders home after a possible truce will become a new challenge for society. Insufficient attention to the needs of veterans could pose threats to national security. General Zaluzhny's significant warning about the potential risks of a devastating civil war in Ukraine, which he explicitly expressed on December 16th at the important forum titled Veterans as a New Political Subject, titled Rules of Engagement for a Wartime Ukraine, was reported by the Novosti Live channel. Zaluzhny noted that after the likely end of the Russian-Ukrainian war, about 1 million defenders will return home and become veterans, which will create challenges for the state, for the civilian population, and for the veterans themselves. The war, unfortunately, is not over yet, but someone has already made us out to be enemies. This is already the reality today. This is what we are seeing. And what could happen tomorrow? We need to understand that, for example, if people find themselves in a situation of sharply reduced income, no job, no housing, and no opportunities to realize themselves in society or within their families, those with combat experience and weapons in their hands become vulnerable to all sorts of provocations and the temptation of easy money, the ambassador said. According to Zaluzhny, neglecting the adaptation of veterans carries such serious risks as a rise in street crime, as shown by the experience of World War II and the war in Afghanistan with the turbulent 90s, political destabilization, and threats to national security up to and including civil war. Earlier, General Zaluzhny had explicitly stated that Russia commenced systematic and extensive preparations for a full-scale war against Ukraine as early as August of 2019, actively deploying significant troops along its borders and substantially increasing its military budget and expenditures. As General Zaluzhny explicitly reported, military operations in their very essence undeniably remain an exceptionally important and crucial tool for effectively achieving specific political goals and objectives. However, they are emphatically no longer considered the singularly decisive or the absolutely final stage in any conflict or strategic endeavor. The actions of the Russians are primarily aimed at creating internal tension in Ukraine, exhausting our human resources, and inflicting significant financial losses.
Former Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and now Ukraine's ambassador to the United Kingdom, Valerii Zaluzhny, stated that Ukraine will not agree to a capitulation disguised as peace agreements. He wrote about this in an article for the New York Post. As Zaluzhny said, Ukraine seeks peace, but a just end to the war would be the restoration of the country's territorial integrity. Punishing Russia for the war crimes committed in Ukraine and obtaining guarantees that no aggressor will ever again threaten Europe from Moscow.
Anything less would be a betrayal not only of Ukrainians, but also of the principles that ensure the security and freedom of the free world.
According to Zaluzhny, Ukraine will continue to fight on the front lines as well as in the political and diplomatic arenas to ensure justice and security.
Our strength lies not only in our soldiers, but also in the clarity of our goal. Peace through victory, not illusion.
Earlier, Zaluzhny stated that the war unleashed by Russia could very soon spread to other territories. The former commander-in-chief believes that the ideas and theories on which the concept of world order was based collapsed after the start of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by the Russian Federation. President Volodymyr Zelensky stated in an interview with The Guardian that the Russian Federation could open a second front against another European country before the war in Ukraine ends.
That's what I believe. Putin could do that. We need to forget about the general European skepticism that Putin first wants to occupy Ukraine and only then might go somewhere else. He can do both things at the same time.
Zelensky noted that the Kremlin is waging a hybrid war against Europe and is testing NATO's red lines.
All of this is a test. All of this is a test. Tests for Europe, tests of their response. All these drone attacks by Putin, what are they capable of? It's a test to see how America will respond to threats against countries that are in NATO. These tests are dangerous for the integrity of Europe.
The president of Ukraine linked the increase in criminal activity across Europe, including drone incursions into the airspace of EU countries, to the fact that Russia has failed to achieve significant progress on the front in Ukraine.